Hi everyone. In this part of the series, we'll look at some automation use cases we can accomplish with integration tool known as Zapier. So Zapier, if you're aware, is a tool where you can map or sync two applications with one another. So it hosts a lot of applications in itself. Uh, you can trigger some action from one application and do uh, an action into another application. Okay, so in this particular video, we'll look at how we can automate lead capture and send those leads from a bot to, let's say, a Google Sheet. Okay, similarly, you could capture leads and send them to platforms such as Klaviyo, Mailchimp, your CRM, whatever app is hosted in Zapier. Okay, so we'll first look at this scenario of sending the lead to Google Sheet. So that particular scenario I'll do in front of you right now, and then we'll quickly look at other scenarios briefly with whatever zaps I created previously. Okay, so I'm into the Zapier dashboard here. What we'll do is we'll first create a zap to get things started. So I'm clicking on new button. What we want to do is we want to have a trigger. So in this particular case, we would be sending lead from Botpress to Zapier, and then from Zapier to Google Sheet. Okay, so basically it's nothing but you would need to have a URL for you to send those leads to. Basically, Zapier should be hosting a URL or an endpoint. So that is nothing but the webhooks endpoint or webhooks trigger. Okay, an event is catch hook. It could be waiting for any post request or a get request to Zapier URL. So we will be calling Zapier URL from Botpress. Okay, so event is catch hook, and clicking on continue. This you can ignore. Then what it would do is it would give you one URL, Zapier API URL. Okay, so that you need to copy. Okay, and then let's go back to our bot, which I showed in another video, a very basic lead capture bot. So let's look at what we are doing here. So we are first start with the salutation message. We capture the name, email, phone number, and store them in these variables. We then transition to the check knowledge node. In here, we basically ask the user what is their actual question, what is their query. It's basically, if we could assist with the sales while purchase or while going through a particular website, if somebody has some doubts, we are trying to, answer that question through a internal website URL crawl or internal document uploaded. In this particular scenario, we have basically given a website, some accountancy website, okay, from which it will try to answer. One more important thing for this particular check knowledge node, you have to enable knowledge answering checkbox to yes. Okay, and if there is no answer from the knowledge, then you go to the fallback node. That's how we designed this bot. Otherwise, it goes to the next part of the flow where we again ask if they have any further questions. Depending on a yes or no, we proceed or we take them back to the check knowledge node. Okay, and then if they are okay to schedule an appointment, what we do is we transition to appointment scheduler node, where through the code we get the next 5 dates from which the user can select which day is preferable. This happens based on the current date, and then on those 5 dates, what are the times he or she is comfortable with. Okay, we get that information from the user, and then what we do is we again execute code to do an API call to our third party application, which in this case is Zapier. So we are taking this entire information retrieved from the user, okay, and putting it into the data variable, and then using the Axios module of node, we are sending it to the third party application. Now here in this case, you have to change the URL based on what Zapier gives you. So I just copied the URL from Zapier, if you remember. Okay, so this copied URL I am putting here, so that it can send this information to the Zap which we just created. Okay, fair enough. Now let's quickly start and do one conversation. I'm giving the email address. Phone number. I'm asking some question related to that website. Let's see if it returns with some response. It's not able to do that. So we'll proceed anyway. So yeah, so I have chosen the date and the time. Okay, and all these variables are set, and it would have, using the API call, it would have sent the data to Zapier. Now if I basically just click on test trigger, we should see that record here. So this is what you know this is what we sent from Botpress. So our trigger is working. That is the first thing. So let's continue with the selected record. The Zap is still not complete. Okay, now here it is asking us to do an action. So in this particular scenario, the action which we want to do with the data which we get is putting this data into a Google Sheet. So, depending on the use case, you can do an action. You may want to send this data to your CRM like Klaviyo, Mailchimp, Aweber, whatever it is. So you select that particular application. Here it is Google Sheets. So I select Google Sheets. The event is I want to basically create that spreadsheet row with that data, right? Depending on the columns. So let's go ahead. Now we have to choose the account. The account is, my email ID, and then continue. Now Drive is my Google Drive. So in my Google Drive, I have this lead capture data sheet. Okay, Google Sheet. So let's try to search for that. So once you select for the drive, it will ask you to, you can we select the sheet. So yeah, as you can see, lead capture is coming up in the list. Worksheet is nothing but the sheet, the sheet 1, sheet 2. Okay, so here in this case, it is the default sheet 1. Okay, now name we want to basically Yes. So with this sheet, when I selected lead capture, it automatically lead capture sheet and the sheet one tab of that, it automatically got me these column names because those are the column names I created in that sheet. Okay. So name should have first and last name into it. Okay. This is the data coming from Botpress. Email, go to the email field. So this is where the mapping happens. Phone number maps to phone number. Question would get mapped to the question which the user asked. Okay, let's continue. So yeah, let's test this step. We should have a row created in Google Sheets with this particular okay, step. Okay, so as you can see, automatically the data came to this sheet. This is how we are automating this task of capturing lead or sending the lead to either Google Sheet or any application of your choice. Now this you don't have to do manually every time. Okay, please understand that once you have created the zap and published it, this happens automatically once the API call happens. Okay, that's the beauty of Zapier. So yeah, I mean, we are set. We have tested the zap. We have tested the zap. We are good to go with respect to publishing it. Although I don't want to publish it now, just want to keep it in inactive status. Uh, okay, so we created the zap and tested it as well in this for this particular use case. Now, as I mentioned, I have some previously created zaps. I can quickly show some other use scenarios as well while we are anyway running through some scenarios. So one such scenario of automating blog creation is what I did. So what we are doing here in this case is selecting a Google Sheet. Now here the trigger is Google Sheet. Uh, uh, you know, AI blog titles is one sheet I have in my drive. Okay, and then worksheet we have given, and the trigger column, which is the blog title. The column is the blog title. Okay, and in the action step, what I'm doing is the app which I selected is ChatGPT. When you're selecting the app, it will ask you to give your API key or your account. It will ask you to authenticate your account and your API key. So I've already done that. So you need to do that, and then again you have it will ask you to map the fields from your the trigger application to the to the fields or to the action you want to do in ChatGPT. Okay. So what I'm doing here is, let me go to the edit part to properly explain. So I'm creating a message. So basically a prompt for ChatGPT to you know to get the query and then return us the results. So what I'm trying to do is, with this block title, uh, I want to create a SEO block. Okay, so this is the prompt, 400 words block, and just a context. You are a blog writer for our agency, and uh, and then the username is user, assistant name is assistant, assistant instructions. Assistant is a SEO blog writer. Assistant is nothing but the chat GPT. Okay. And then tokens temperature. These things are where we are trying to configure or set. So automatically, whenever in this particular scenario, our trigger is any new or updated spreadsheet row under that column. Okay, so as I add, as a new row gets added here in this particular sheet, the trigger happens, and then based on that value, it tries to create a blog on that title. Okay. Yeah, this is one use scenario. So as you keep on adding the blog title row, you would have one blog created, which you can see here. Okay, like this. So at the end you will have the actual blog created. Okay, so assistant, see, it gives you the blog in this format. So what you could do is you could have another action step and maybe send this blog to via an email ID to a particular email address. Okay, or any other application. But idea is we have used ChatGPT internal engines or ChatGPT APIs for us to create blog, and we have automated that process. Just the row needs to be added, and automatically it creates a blog. Okay, so this is another use case. Like that, you could have n number of automation use cases based on the requirement of the client or the business. You could basically design these zaps. Similarly, okay, I was trying to automate the Google appointment scheduling. So in our lead capture, we didn't use the preferred day and time of the appointment. So with the help of that, we can basically also set Google uh, appointment invites automatically. Okay, which is what I have tried to do in this app. Okay, so we just need the date and the time, and obviously you have to format the date and time with another action or formatter step in between, and then using Google Calendar, uh, you can create these events. Okay, and if it already exists, there is a provision in Google Calendar to just send a no that the meeting already exists in this particular at this particular time. Okay, so this was Google appointment scheduling. The only issue with Google appointment scheduling or this particular app is that the due to Zapier's constraint of not sending the response from the last step, what happens is it just sends us a response from the first step that okay, the API which you were trying to call is called, and then it has no it doesn't take into account what we are doing with the trigger, the other actions which we are doing. So it will just send you a success that okay, your call was registered. um, so the drawback here is that if there is uh, a meeting already existing in that day and time which user selected, we can never send the 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 information back to Botpress with whatever I have done in Botpress. Okay, maybe there is something available in Botpress where we can try to create a webhook in Botpress and try to send the response. That is something more advanced, but with whatever we have seen here in this particular Zap, the response at the last step is not getting sent to Botpress. Only the response from the first step is getting sent. So you will never know whether the appointment at that day or time existed or not. Obviously, if it existed, it will not create another event. That is taken care. Okay. Hope you got the idea. So let's move to some other use cases. Like as I mentioned, you could export it to Mailchimp by, instead of selecting Google Sheets, you can select Mailchimp in the action step. Similarly, you can export it to Klaviyo, HubSpot. These are all CRMs where you want, if you're already using a CRM, you have automated this lead capture, and you already, and with this Zapier integration, as and when user gives the information, you have it as one record created in your CRM. Okay, and there could be various other scenarios as well. Okay. Okay, so this is what I wanted to mention or run through in this particular video. Hope it was informative. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.